Hi, this is Tapcat, and welcome to my latest Q&A. I guess I should say part one because, wow, you guys really responded with a lot of terrific questions. So I'm going to have to break this into multiple parts, and then on top of that, if some people asked, very similar questions with a lot of overlap, I'm going to go ahead and just combine those. So let's go ahead and actually start there, because I would say the most common type of question I got was, what am I doing next on the channel? What do I think of this game or that game? And a lot of people asking about the same handful of games. So let's go ahead and just cover that first. As far as what I'm going to do after Chimera Squad, I have not made up my mind yet. We're still weeks away from that. I will say that I am seriously considering doing another run through Chimera Squad, but this time without healing. So we would not even recruit Terminal at all, and then no medkits and no regen vests. So if somebody like Verge has an ability that heals himself, I think that's okay. But those other three things, which is 90% of the healing you get in the game, would be off the table. I'm not even positive it's possible to finish a campaign that way, but it would be interesting to find out, I think. As far as the other games that would be under consideration or that people have asked about, Gears Tactics. I obviously spent a lot of time playing Gears Tactics when I did my comparison to Xcom. And I said at the time, I thought the developers did a really good job of realizing their vision of creating this pressure cooker of a game. And I believe that, and I think people who are looking for that experience should seriously check Gears Tactics out. For me, it was too much. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't about difficulty, but that just relentless beatdown, it got old for me. And feeling like somebody was just hitting me in the back with a cattle prod every second, telling me, go faster, go faster, go faster. And then at the same time, dropping enemies in front of me to make it very, very difficult to do that. It wasn't something that I enjoyed a lot. Like, the more I played, the less I liked it. So even though I think it's a well-constructed game and there will definitely be a segment of people who love it to death, I will not be one of those. Mutant Year Zero. I played it briefly. And I played it at a time, in hindsight, when I was not ready to play a strategy game yet. And so it's not even that I didn't enjoy it. I didn't give it a chance. As soon as there was any challenge level at all, I just quit and I didn't care. Like, that's really all it came down to. I didn't care enough to put any effort into figuring it out. And so I really need, now that I'm kind of back in a groove of playing this kind of game again, I need to try Mutant Year Zero again and see what I actually think of it. Phoenix Point is a game that I played about 10 missions of what they call a backer build. I'll actually do a video on Phoenix Point, probably in the near future. It was one of 2 times that I tried to make a video when I was off, and then circumstances got in the way. So I'm not going to spoil it now. It's not like a huge story or anything to begin with, but I kind of want to do a Lost Chapters video where I talk about these things that I almost did while I was away. So just bear with me on Phoenix Point. But I won't be, I could play it next. I guess if it's not Chimera Squad, Mutant Year Zero or Phoenix Point would be my next likely suspects. Dusted Gaming asked, have I ever considered doing a playthrough of non-turn-based strategy games? And yeah, absolutely. In fact, I have done it. If you look at my playlist, just click on the playlist tab on my channel, you'll see that I've played a number of games, Don't Starve, and Rise of Venice, and Dark Souls. And it's sad. I'm really proud of my Dark Souls series, but to this day, it's the least watched thing that I've ever uploaded. Just not a lot of people interested in watching me play that. And in general, I would say most of the things that are not turn-based strategy have tended to get lower views. Rise of Venice is one of the rare exceptions to that rule. But if you want to see what it's like when I play those kind of games, they are there for you to check out. Purple Hawk 22 asks, what was my most difficult XCOM mission? And it could be from any XCOM game. That's a difficult one because, of course, most of the XCOM missions I've ever played were difficult. But I will narrow it down. I think the one that haunted me the most for a long time was from Enemy Unknown, and terror missions in Enemy Unknown, especially in the early game, are just incredibly difficult. And one in particular, it was in the first campaign that I had played on the channel, which was only, I want to say, my second campaign that I'd ever played. So I was pretty new to XCOM still. And, a terror mission that went wrong in every way that it could. But I found it interesting on multiple levels because part of it was mistakes I made due to my lack of experience and knowledge. Part of it was that my soldiers just missed a ton of 80% or better shots. And then part of it was I also had, I guess what you would call bad luck as far as new patrols kept coming to where I was. It's not that I was moving forward and triggering them, but they kept finding me. And so the mission went just horribly wrong. And I ended up doing a video later. I actually included it in the playlist for that campaign. So if you're interested, you can go back and watch that. I really love that video because I kind of did an analysis of what went wrong. And I did it way later. So I actually knew enough then to realize what I had been doing wrong and stuff. But I just find that mission fascinating because I don't know if anything I would have done would have been enough to overcome it. Overcome all the hurdles. I was really, really hosed on that mission almost from the word go. So that one really stands out. And the other one, I'm going to give you two. Sorry, but they're both difficult in very different ways. In my War of the Chosen series that I did, there were actually a couple, but there was one mission in particular against the Warlock that was just hell on earth. It went over 2 hours and it was just such a grind. And the way, if I remember correctly, there were aliens, / Advent on the map. The Lost were on the map. And then he was creating those stupid spirit zombies and sending them at us. And I just, got bogged down. And every time I would think I was about to be able to move forward, either a new patrol would come or a wave of Lost, or he would send more zombies. And I couldn't clear it out. It was just horrible. And so that was another mission that really scarred me and honestly did a lot to ruin my entire experience with War of the Chosen. There's probably 3 missions from that campaign that ruined the experience to such an extent that I don't know that I'll ever touch War of the Chosen again. I don't have any real intention of ever doing it again because I know those kind of missions are waiting for me and I have no interest in playing that. So there's your answer. I gave you a 2-for-1 sale. Kurt Jones Jr. says, what does Tapcat Land from Planet Coaster look like now? And does Tropico 6 interest you at all? God, thank you for asking about Planet Coaster. By the way, another non-turn-based strategy game that is featured on the channel. So I did play some Planet Coaster after the series. And what I tried to do, I was really proud of how the tropical area came out and the sci-fi area came out. And I went back and I wanted to revisit the Western themed area that I had done. And I tore a lot of stuff down and there were really a couple of problems. One, I placed so many objects, particularly in that tropical pirate area, but also in the sci-fi. I kind of overloaded the game engine and it was really chugging. I mean, I play with a 1080 Ti graphics card, so it's not a lightweight. I think actually too, at the time, that was literally the best you could buy. This is before, the what do they call it? The RTX series came out. But anyway, the game didn't really run well anymore. And the other problem I had is I really did kind of burn myself out when I did the tropical area. I just placed so many items so meticulously and I kind of overdid it. And then what happened is when I tore down the Western area and I was trying to rebuild it, I just didn't have any creative spark left and I kept drawing a blank. I was literally just trying to build this one queue for a ride and I couldn't think what to do. It was kind of sad. So I went ahead and left Tapcat Land as it was, and I will always feel bad that I wasn't able to finish it, but what I realized is I was a little too ambitious in how much I had put into that world, and the game engine just can't handle it. Regarding Tropico 6, I'll keep this one really quick. But no, I honestly, even though I played Tropico 5 for the channel, by the way, another non-turn-based game, I didn't really enjoy it. That was one I kind of had to force myself to finish. And I just don't see myself ever playing a Tropico game again, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. It's something like Booknofni 5 asked if I would ever be willing to do a collaboration video with fans. Okay, I could do a really long answer to this, and I'm going to try to keep it shorter. Now, I should read the second half of the question, which is I hear there are some XCOM 2 co-op mods. So what you're really asking is if I would do like a whole series with fans, it sounds like. Number one, I always have to juggle my schedule to record. I never really know what time of day I'm going to record. And you'll notice that in the entire history of the channel, there's exactly one time I recorded with somebody else. And part of the reason for that is that it takes away all my flexibility on when I'm going to do it, because now I have to schedule it in advance and arrange it with somebody else and, have our schedules aligned. So right out of the gate, that's a huge negative for me. And then on top of that, if you're talking about a whole series, number one, I don't know any of my fans, so I don't know if we would have any chemistry at all when we're trying to talk and play and everything. And then on top of that, I would have to rely on that person to keep to this schedule day after day. And for something like XCOM 2, it takes weeks to go through. Like typically I'm well over a month to record an XCOM 2 series. And this person that I don't even know, I have to rely on them to be there with me every day. And then how will the other viewers react to that? Because while I'm sure the one fan would be thrilled to be a part of it, what if the other viewers don't really dig that? But hey, I'm already committed at that point. It is what it is. So I'm not saying I would never record a video with anybody under any circumstances. But what I want to try to get across is it's not a trivial thing. And there's technical hurdles too. I learned that the one time I did record with somebody else, the sound quality was crap because I'm used to recording, just me on my mic, on my software, and doing a thing over the internet. The quality was garbage. So you have to work with that too. So there's a lot of hurdles that have to be overcome. And I have to ask myself, why am I doing this? What am I going to accomplish, make these videos so much more appealing to everyone else that it's worth that extra time that I have to invest. So it is not likely. Now, the same viewer also mentions that he's been toying with the idea of posting a Chimera Squad playthrough himself, but he worries that he'll be heavily influenced by my videos. And how would I feel about a fan making similar content? So yeah, listen, I did not invent Let's Plays. I definitely did not invent XCOM Let's Plays. I mentioned not long ago, I was somewhat inspired by other YouTubers that were, on the platform before me, and they were making YouTube videos or XCOM videos, I mean to say, that, I really enjoyed, and seeing that they had built an audience made me think, hey, maybe this is something I could do and people would actually care enough to watch, because I didn't know that was true. So if you watch my videos and you feel like that's something you'd like to do, you love the game and you want to share that with people, go for it. And I certainly wouldn't want people to straight up copy me, but it sounds like that's not what you're saying. You're saying you'd have your own flair and all that. And find your own voice and record videos if that's what you want to do. Content Surprise says, do you still feel antipathy toward finishing Banner Saga, or did time ease things? No, I actually thought about it when I knew I had pretty well decided I was coming back, and I thought about what am I going to do for my first series, and I did think about trying to finish Banner Saga because I hate having unfinished series. I really do. But knowing that I not only have to play the one mission that I so thoroughly despised, but I did, the next part of his comment asked if I watched any other Let's Plays or lore videos to find out what happens after that. I have not done that. But when I was so frustrated with the game, I Googled to see if other people were as frustrated with the mission that I got stuck on. And what I found is that there was another one later. I guess that's probably the climactic battle of Banner Saga 2. And that really was the capper for me, even back then, because I thought, okay, so if I gut it out and I finish this stupid thing, apparently I have something even worse waiting for me. And you know what? Life is just too short to waste it on crap that you hate. So even though I really despise having an unfinished series on my channel like that, yeah, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, I'm still trying to enjoy these games as I play them. And if I really reach a point where I not only am not actively enjoying it, but I'm loathing it, then I feel like I'm doing both you and me more harm than good by continuing. And that's kind of where I'm at with Banner Saga 2. And I'll just add one more thing and then I'm going to move on. I literally not only have no desire to revisit Banner Saga 2, or of course start 3, I will very likely never play any game that Stoic, the developer, makes, ever. Because how I see their judgment when it comes to game design, as far as what I enjoy, I want no part of them. So that's where I stand on that. Kenneth Hahn asks, have I ever played the expansions for Civilization 6? And what do I like and dislike about the current Civ 6 compared to Civ 5 with all of its expansions? So Kenneth, I cannot answer all of that question because I played Civ 6 in its base form. I played one full game and I did not enjoy it. I played it for the channel, and if I hadn't been playing for the channel, I don't even think I would have finished that game. Now, realistically, I probably should have gone back and just off camera played at least the beginning of another campaign, because one of the things that really grated on me was it just felt like I got very little progress each turn. So for example, I had a scout and it took me forever to open up just even an appreciable part of the map. So I really hated that. I hated how glacial my progress was across the board. What I should have done is, I forget the names that they use within Civilization, but they have an option you can check where basically when you click, go one more turn, it progresses more years at a time. So it takes you fewer turns to build things and so forth. And I assume that my scout would have had more movement points. I don't know because I didn't try it. So I really should have probably given the game more of a chance, but honestly, I think what happened to me was that I loved Civilization 5. I have at least 4 series on the channel where I played that game, and I really did just enjoy the heck out of it, and I played something like 800 hours all totaled. So one of my favorite games of all time. I was so looking forward to Civ 6 that when I started playing and I not only didn't love it, but I realized like, wow, I'm really not enjoying myself. It was just crushing. So I saw that they released DLC for it. I didn't even watch a trailer for it. Like I just did not care at all. So you know what? Like, I probably should revisit the game though and see what it's like with the DLC and see what it's like if I play it, like I said, where each turn is more years. But I will tell you, there were also some very fundamental design choices that I did not care for. So my sense is that it is just probably not a game that I'm going to enjoy, regardless of how other people feel about it. I just am not, I kind of feel like it's not necessarily going to ever be my favorite Civilization. Cesarek asks, how romantic is my relationship with Into the Breach? Well, a gentleman doesn't kiss and tell, but I like to think we're pretty close. I actually really loved Into the Breach. I would say if you took the games that have come out in the last 5 years, Into the Breach has got to be in my top 5. I just thought it was phenomenal. And actually, that was one that also, I got some views, more than Dark Souls, but I really enjoyed that game, and I would have happily recorded more series of that because they're very short campaigns. But the second one that I recorded, and I thought I played pretty well in the second one. Relatively few people watched, so there obviously wasn't a lot of interest there. But that was a game I just kept playing off camera. I beat the game with every single group, that you get access to, and unlocked all the achievements and stuff. I thought it was great. Let me see. I am awesome 080 asks, are you not using parry on Zephyr just to annoy us or because you keep forgetting? At this point, I hope it's to annoy because it's really funny. Well, if you've seen I believe it was 25, then it wasn't even that I forgot. I guess you can say I forgot that I took that ability. I literally never saw the icon, really. I kind of noticed it once or twice, but I didn't think about it, I think, until after I was already moving, and then it would be too late, and I would completely forget I'd seen it after that. Yeah, it was just I love momentum so much. And my mind was always on where I was going to move her, and I never even was thinking there's this whole other ability. So anyway, I explain it in part 25. I'm sure you know by now. I did find it really funny how people reacted to it in the comments, and I'm grateful that people really took it with good humor and not just getting bent out of shape because I wasn't using what is admittedly a really good ability. Empty Pocket asks, are you hot? Also, what's your plan after Chimera Squad? No, I recently put in a new air conditioning unit in my office, so I am nice and cool, but thank you for your concern. Bebop asks, are you into Warhammer 40K, and what's my opinion of it? I've never played anything Warhammer. Either Warhammer, the fantasy version, or 40K. I did actually buy the Total War that's based on the Warhammer fantasy, IP, but I haven't tried it. And one of these days, it's kind of in my Steam pile of shame, whatever you want to call that, my backlog. So I haven't tried 40K though. I'm actually I'm generally more into fantasy than I am sci-fi. So I'm more tempted by the traditional, Warhammer, but I know so little about them. It's very possible that if I actually played games in the 40K universe, there might be options there, that would be more interesting or something. I don't know. John Warland asks, when the inevitable invasion comes, what side will you be on? I, for one, welcome our Advent overlords and their questionably sourced burgers. Oh, John. So I hope we don't end up, engaging in battle across enemy lines because I don't really eat beef. I'm not a vegan, but I don't like burgers in particular. So I hate to say it, but yeah, we probably need to drive the alien invaders from our world, and I would not be on Advent's side. Meme Master asks, what is the game you want to play? What is the game you think the fan base wants to see? I find that kind of a fascinating question. And of course, I don't know for sure what the fan base wants to see. What is the game I want to play? I would say that not necessarily right now, but I would really like to play Bloodborne for the channel. It is possibly my favorite game of all time, and it hurts me that I don't have it represented at all on the channel. I don't think that people want to watch that. God knows they sure didn't have any interest in watching me play Dark Souls, and there's a lot of similarity in those two. As to what the fan base wants to see, if I had to guess, I would say XCOM 2, because that is by far the game I'm best associated with. Although, what's maybe a more insightful answer is what they'd really like to see me play is XCOM 3 when it's released. And they would prefer that be sooner rather than later. Yeah, I think a lot of people would, even people like me who enjoyed Chimera Squad, and I really like Chimera Squad. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't love to see a full-blown, heavy-duty XCOM sequel come out sooner rather than later. Dark Cat 13 asks, how much time do I need to make videos? What video editing software do I use? And so forth. So I'll answer the second one first because that's way quicker. I use Vegas Pro, which is not a super popular answer. I have also used Adobe Premiere Pro. And years ago, I used some less expensive software made by a company called Magix, who actually bought Vegas Pro. I started using it when it was Sony Vegas Pro, but they bought it from Sony. And when I came back, I recently upgraded to their latest version. I really like editing in Vegas Pro. And I have it now where it used to have a problem where it was pretty slow at rendering. And that's actually why I switched from Vegas to Premiere for a good while. And then but I don't like editing in Premiere. I never got fully comfortable that way. And so when I came back, I thought, I really want to try to use Vegas Pro. So I bought the newest version, paid the upgrade fee for that. And then I actually just recently built a new PC to, render faster and stuff. And anyway, I did all kinds of research to figure out how to get the most out of it. And now it really renders at a good clip. So now I have the advantage of using the editing, features that I like, and it renders quickly, because rendering can take a long time, especially when you're doing longer videos. Okay, God, that was supposed to be the short answer. How much time do I need to make videos? That depends so much, I can't even begin to tell you. So best case scenario, you sit down and like a gameplay video, if it takes me a half hour just to record the game, if everything went smoothly, I probably don't spend more than 5 minutes on the editing part for audio and video combined. It's really quick. If I'm doing, what am I trying to say? A thumbnail that's consistent from episode to episode, like I am with Chimera Squad, all I change is the episode number. That's also very quick. And so other than time for things like letting the computer render it and stuff, the whole thing's probably 45 minutes to do a half-hour video. But that's best case scenario. Then there's completely other kinds of content and other situations. So for example, when I was doing the Gears Tactics video, the time that I spent from initially writing down bullet points that I wanted to cover, researching some of the factual points to make sure I didn't misstate anything, writing a full script because I have to have a full script to do a video like that or it'll just be a disaster. And then I wasn't happy with it. I constantly kept feeling like I'm not getting this. And it took me a long time before I got there. So by the time I finally get a working script, record the audio, edit the audio, and I spend a lot of time editing the audio for a video of that type. Then I have to put that into Vegas Pro and spend time trying to find clips that illustrate the things that I'm talking about, if at all possible. And it depends a lot on, what video we're talking about. Sometimes I let more generic stuff play out. And again, sometimes I try to get really specific. Anyway, I spent 30 hours roughly producing the Gears Tactics video, which was a 30-minute video or something like that. So, anywhere from 45 minutes to 30 hours, there's your answer. It's crazy. And that's why I don't do guides all the time, because scripted videos, I like to think I do a good job on them when I do make them, but holy mackerel, it really takes up time for me. Wildvine asks if I ever have problems getting consistent frame rate on my games, and he mentions XCOM 2. He's really struggling with low frame rates. So do I have any tips? Very difficult. This isn't exactly my area of expertise. I will tell you that XCOM 2 is not a well-optimized game. And there are parts, and sometimes they're really odd sections where I would see my frame rate drop as well. The best thing you can do is go into your settings and try experimenting with it. Try lowering your, anti-aliasing. Try lowering the shadows. A lot of times shadows are really intensive for, frame rate purposes. Play with stuff like that and see if you can kind of get it under control. Because it really ruins your experience if your system starts chugging like that when you're trying to play. I mean, thankfully, you're not playing a shooter or something where you have to rely on your reflexes. You won't die because your frame rate drops, but it's just not fun playing that way. So good luck. I hope you're able to work that out. AKG2N asked how I felt about Three Houses. And this was actually a question I got from a few people. So there's clearly more than one viewer on the channel who enjoys Fire Emblem. And that was a tough one for me. This was another game that I played at the wrong time. I was working about 10 or 12 hours a day, depending on the day, and 6 to 7 days a week. So there were a lot of weekends. I didn't have any days off and, not a lot of downtime. So when I was coming home, this was shortly after I had bought my Nintendo Switch, And I was really enjoying games like Super Mario Odyssey and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I played them like a total casual. Like, if I was in Breath of the Wild and I had any difficulty solving a shrines puzzle, I just Googled it. I did not care. I wasn't playing for the challenge. I was playing to explore and just have fun with it. And so when I played Fire Emblem after that, it was just more than I had to give at the moment. It wasn't that it was a super difficult game, but every time I sat down to play it, it was like, oh, hey, did you know if you go to this area, you can fish? And did you know you should go to this area and talk to these people and do this stuff? And did you know you should go over here? And they just kept giving me stuff to do. And it was too much to me. Like, I didn't want to keep track of it all. I didn't want to deal with learning it all. I just want to sit down and kind of play a brain dead game, or it didn't have to be brain dead. Like, if Fire Emblem mostly focused on the combat, I would have been fine with thinking about the combat. But what I couldn't deal with was 500 things of them saying, oh, hey, you should try to do this, So I gave up on it pretty quickly, not because I thought it looked like a bad game or anything like that, but because I just did not have the mental bandwidth at the time I played it to appreciate what it was. I just didn't. So I went ahead and decided I'll let it go and maybe revisit it another time. Okay, so I have a ton more questions to get to, but I'm going to end it here. We're going to do at least one more episode and possibly two. So I'm just going to space them out at least a few days in between. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get the next one done, but I appreciate your patience waiting for me. I mean, really, it was overwhelming how many questions I got. It's really gratifying, but a little daunting as well. So I will get more of your questions answered just as soon as I can. I hope you enjoyed this one. But either way, thank you for watching, and I hope we see you next time.